Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Masters of Moment, brought to you by Freshworks. I'm Alan Berkson. Thanks for joining us and taking the time to explore topics related to improving customer experience and how you can more easily delight your customers. Is creativity a talent or a skill? I would venture to say we're all born creative, but perhaps it's discouraged or taught out of us through our educational system. Maybe it just needs to be reactivated. My guest today is going to help me explore that. My guest today is Rohan Sandeep. He's a creative thinker who has been applying design thinking principles to improve products here at Freshworks. Today, we're going to discuss how we can all use design thinking to approach the problems in front of us. We'll even take some time to look at a support email and break it down from an agent's perspective using a design thinking framework. Welcome to the show, Rohan.
Thank you, Alan.
Hey, why don't you get people started to understand a little bit about what working in design at Freshworks is? And it's, maybe most people will think it's on like the marketing side that we're just trying to create nice advertisements or images or make the website look pretty, but it's a little bit more than that. What gives people an idea of what you work on?
Yes, I mean that's an excellent way to start this topic about product design, as we call it at Freshworks. And as it's often said, right? Design is not about how it looks and feels. That might be the intent, but it's about how it works. It's about making something that is useful, usable, and delightful. So it's not only about the interface that you see. It's about how you're solving people's problems, how you're getting into someone's mind, empathizing with them, going into their shoes, figuring out what are the challenges they're facing, coming up with those ways to take the grief out of users, bringing them positive results, and getting them what they really want and need in their lives.
So I heard you say delight, which I love it because obviously that's part of what we're trying to help people do here at Freshworks. But maybe give me an example of something that you've approached that so we get a sense of what is this design thinking principle? What do these principles look like? I know you've got a framework for it, and maybe you can walk us through how you approach a problem. And just the reason why I'm doing this is because we're going to use the same type of thinking for the average person. Everyone here, you're going to learn how to apply design thinking principles in your life. So let's see if we can walk through an example here.
I would definitely like to first, step back about frameworks, right? A framework is, on some level, is about how we are going to approach something, right? It doesn't have to be the framework that I'm talking about. You can come up with your own framework dealing with life problems, with your support use cases, about everything in general. It's about you kind of putting a structure to the way you are trying to solve things. And interestingly, this is a very good approach at creative solving as well. And that's the hidden thing we designers, often called creative people, end up doing. So going a little deeper into a framework, right? You have to kind of set up some criteria which kind of keeps you on path, keeps whether you're talking to a customer, you're talking speaking right now, right, in the show. You should keep some kind of a criteria in mind that I'm going to follow these, I'm going to stay within the scope. For design, for it's primarily it would be meeting the user needs. It all starts with the user. It's not about you. So even for a support agent, it's all about the caller. It's all about the person who's writing the email, all of that. And with that, it's when you communicate, for example, in design, we make sure there is a clear structure, there's a clear hierarchy, so the person understands what is the intent, where is the person in the interface, why are they there, how are they going to do something, all of that, right? And similarly, there are a number of design principles like accessibility, for example, right? Accessibility is where you make interfaces, no matter you are a young child or you are on the older side, have some disadvantages using the interface. We make sure it is accessible and available. So it's the same for the support agents as well, right? You have somebody, a customer calling in who is, can't hear very clearly or needs time to be explained what it is. So again, a design principle which is very, very valid for a support use case. And so goes confirm before you commit, this is like, you might have seen those dialogues when you hit the delete button, it goes and asks you, should I really delete,
Right.
or ask you to, double check, right? It's the same thing in a world when we are helping our customers get their role, like, make sure they really understand, what you're going to do. So there are many more, like, make sure people are in control. Like, for example, people, users feel that they are in control over things rather than, you don't know what's happening on the interface. Similarly, a support agent or people who are helping customers would want the people who are calling in, people who are writing emails, feel that they're in control over the situation. And that's how you delight people. That's you win hearts and, go ahead with things.
You said to me when we were talking about this call, you said to me, we talked about the fact that typical customer service is pattern matching. Um, but to a certain extent, if a problem has happened before, we already have a solution for it. Technology can, automation can handle it. It can give you an answer. But if it hasn't happened before, if it's a unique problem, that takes a different mindset. Walk me through that.
Absolutely, absolutely, Alan. And it's very valid about all our professional work and everything. The value we humans bring into all of this, a context, right? Like, we understand the situation. We are learning very, very quickly. We can put so many other experiences together while we are listening to a support problem or any kind of a thing. That being one, there is the aspect that machines or systems, they are placed, they are basically learning from human beings themselves. At the end of the day, all of AI in the world is learning from human beings, human interactions. And people, us, we can actually empathize, understand the situation, and we are probably quicker at, situations which are not in the system. Like, you might come up with a question a machine might not be able to answer, but Rohan is trying to, because we are humans, because we can think in ways out of the box. We can explore different areas, and also having the empathy part of it, right? Like, really, which machines often find it a little more difficult to do.
Empathy in design. I think that most of us would think that it makes sense that you'd want to make stuff that is, uh, or have conversations or frame conversations using empathy at the core of it. One of the things that that you also talked about is um, problem abstraction, and finding a path to make sure that we understand, we're on the same page in terms of what the problem is to be solved. I see you're smiling because I think that's a key element of this, whether you're designing a screen or an interface on software, or whether you're having a conversation with a customer.
Absolutely. I mean, we often famously say that, are we on the same page? Often we are in different books, as they say, right?
Right.
So it's very valid, and I think a designer in their career advances in a really good way when they start empathizing. I mean, we hold it as a very, very core value. I think it's valid for everything. Even if you went saw a doctor, you would appreciate a doctor who would, really understand, and that actually helps you in problem solving. Because I mean, on the surface level, if on the interface, if I try to design something for someone, I might just get a list of things, go to these one, two, three, four things. But when we have an empathy, we see this person is holding a mobile phone. He's right in the traffic. Somebody's honking, or, we don't know what kind of a situation the person is. But by doing user research, by learning more about the person, generally having a very empathetic viewpoint to all of this makes us designers more in tune to solve the problem. Because, is our button going to be bigger? Is it going to be, is it going to come in your way? It's not going to come in way. In the same way, when a support agent or any of us who are trying to help customers, understanding, empathizing. For example, who am I talking to? Is it a child? Is it a high schooler? Is it somebody else? What background do they have? And how much do I need to go and move to kind of solve the problem, right? So
Yeah, look, it's even about the channel, meaning if I'm having a chat, there's a certain level of context that I have, and I don't want to make assumptions about uh, uh, intent, because it doesn't always come through in the written word, where with the voice you can hear a little bit of maybe emotion, or if it's even just an engagement on a website, seeing they went to this place and then they went to this place and then went to this place. Maybe I need to think a better way about how that whole experience works to make it, to make it faster, easier, more delightful, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Again, like this program, Masters of the Movement, right? So we have to be aware of the context really well, right? In different use cases, which page has triggered this? Where are they coming from? What time of the day are they in? So we have to be very, very open, in the moment, kind of a thing. Self-aware, aware of, when you are talking to customers and all, exactly what they're saying, what is their frustration, connecting the dots in a very big way. And I think we human beings are very, very tuned for this.
So, as a customer service agent, maybe I fall into the trap that somebody calls up and I have in my head already 4 or 5 solutions, and they've already, even before they finish that first sentence, I'm already pattern matching, and I'm about to answer a question. Why am I making a mistake? What's a better way to approach that? Because I think it is a mistake, right?
I would suggest that it's not a very structured way of doing things, right? We all follow structures in our life, right? There is a reason a road has got payments, there are things and everything. Human mind is wild and it's good for dreaming, and visualization and everything. But when it comes to a caller calling or something like that, I might be completely not aware of exactly what the problem is, right? Because I might be, thinking, here is the problem. This guy is calling for this problem, and the customer is actually calling for some other reason. So listening very carefully, and doing some kind of, if you had a sheet of paper or you whatever is your note taking methods, just listing down. Okay, the person saying A, B, C, D, just listing it down one after the other, and it is like a self check kind of a thing, and you also start noticing a pattern over there. You realize that out of these 4 problems that they mentioned, maybe this one is the bigger one that needs to be solved. It's more critical, it's more time sensitive. You could have some parameters around which how you judge how do I really help out this situation. So I would say that yeah, having a structure and going, really looking at what are all the problems and which one is the most, the one that I need to attend immediately.
And then it becomes negotiation is probably not the right word, but we need to make sure that we agree, whether I'm the customer and you're the agent. How do you think through that? Because at some point, you can't just, you don't want to jump to a conclusion too early, and you don't want to just extend the conversation, infinitely. How do you come to that? Hey, I think I'm close to what a solution, or what a potential solution would look like.
That's an excellent question, and there is also many more things as well added to this. One thing is I could possibly have 5 ways of solving this problem, right? Like the customer says that I have this issue. It can be solved in numerous ways, and you have to pick one of them. And when you pick up them, you could even talk to the customer. Let's assume you are in a position where you can talk to the customer. Would this help? Would a solution like this help and everything? You can actually have some kind of a narrative, a discussion where you're co-solving the problem with the customer. And then when you get to the right one, you reconfirm, you reaffirm, you make sure that your communication is very clear. In our design word, Alan, I was talking to you the other day, that it's not enough to design. I mean, a good designer is the one who presents it really well, right? It's the same thing. Your solution is just one part of it, right? You understanding and empathizing and solving the problem, but also leaving the delight part of it, uh, together in the mix is you solving all of it.
I could hear you when you say it's not just about solving the problem. We've all had an experience where a problem was solved, but we weren't too happy with the whole process. So I think what you're talking about, or what I'm hearing from you, is it's not just about did I get an answer, but have I made sure that the customer is comfortable with the fact that I understand the context, We agree on on what the problem is. It's as it's been articulated. We've discussed some solutions, and we agree that this is the right path. Am I a design
Yes.
thinker yet, Rowan? Am I a design thinker?
You are definitely a very eloquent thinker, Alan. But I mean, think about this, right? Like, if somebody came to Freshworks today, right? Like, somebody just walked into Freshworks office, and I being an employee of Freshworks, how would I want that experience? Let's say a customer who's using Freshdesk messaging or Omnichannel or something just comes walking into Freshworks. Would it be greeted by somebody who says, you can go to department A, B, C, and do it? Or would it be a warm person who, like, gives a good listening ear, understands what the problem is, goes with you, finds you the right department, waits for you outside. Once you're done, gives you a nice smile so that you are like, you want to go to Freshworks, right? So it is that very same feeling, very same sentiment, valid in, when you're helping your customers, no matter which company you are, where you're working. It's about delivering that delight, making people feel very personable. And we do that with interfaces. We actually have design principles and design adjectives that we use when we design, so that the customer feels good about, the even if there's no person, there's a personality to the interface as well.
I think we need to get you to apply to some of the vendors I know who it's press one for support, press two for sales. And we've all had nightmares of being stuck in an IVR. And there's a better way to design that experience. And it's not that, look, people have experiences, but you could design the journey, right? In terms of the most, one is efficient. You don't want people to waste time. The other is that you want to make sure that it's at least pleasant, if not delightful, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that at the end of the day, anything needs to be useful to be a product, right? It needs to be usable to be able to be functional, and finally, it's delightful, right? Like, it's all stacked one after the other. Utility, which is usefulness, usability, where you feel in control, you can get it together, and then delight, which is like, you feel a mastery over it. So I call up support desk, or I'm writing an email, I get a reply. I feel that I'm effective when, somebody replies, says that I really understand what you're saying. And, people feel empowered. They feel, not the support agent hasn't replied, but, they are in control of their situation. And it's very important to give these moments to customers, so they are longer, they are friends more than just customers.
So if I'm trying to build my framework now in my head as a customer service rep, clearly I want to have some, I want to get context. I want to understand. And like you said, even if there's a screaming child in the background, or there's, they're outside, or they're driving, these are all context. I want to have empathy towards what they're trying to do. One of my favorite quotes from a head of a call center, he said, "My job is get you back to doing what you were trying to do before you called me as quickly as possible, because you didn't really want to call me in the first place." Right. So I want to have some empathy for your situation. And then I want to make sure that I'm appropriately scoping out, because you can say it could be multiple issues. And as we all know, sometimes the problem isn't where you think it is. And it may not even be the way the customer may not even be able to articulate it. So you might have to dig a little bit more deeply. You come up with a bunch of different solutions. And then I want to make sure that whatever solution that we end up going with, I've negotiated with the customer, so that we're both clear that this is the path we're going to take, and then we can start to execute on that solution. How'd I do?
You did very well, Alan. I would like to add just one little bit to it.
Okay.
The part where, you have multiple solutions, I would say, you have some way of saying that, this solution is better than versus that one. And, you
What
might
do you mean by
have
that?
three. Uh, I mean, I could, for example, in the interface language, I would explain, right? I could use a checkbox, I could use a radio button, I could use a drop down, I could do all of these, right? These are different ways of solving the same thing. You are capturing input. But what's the best one at the moment? How much screen real estate is there? We take all of the judgments, right? In design, very valid for support agents, right? Like, you could do it in 5 different ways. figure out which one works better, multiple options, figure out the one that works best for the situation. And
So, no, go ahead. Sorry.
yes, I wanted to add one thing, very something very beautiful you said. Like, we all want to just get on with our lives. So in design, we talk about, interfaces that are transparent or invisible. We don't want to interface. We want to solve people's problems, right? So I just wanted to add that note because I find it very
So,
inspiring in
so
a
what?
way, like what you said.
So what you're saying is, if you do your job really well, nobody notices,
Absolutely. I would
and
I would
that's
I, I would say that
and
good
that's where
interface is
you
no
get
interface.
excited. Yeah, and I think that's the complexity that goes into design is lost because there's so many things you're thinking about in terms of all these options, and you're trying to maximize the experience match, and you're solving for different vectors. You're solving for speed, efficiency, is it understandable? Can I?
Learnability.
What's that?
Learnability, like, learning curves, like people entering a system, how soon do they get it right? Affordance. Yes, sorry, Alan, I interrupted you.
No, please. So, look, you're the design expert. I'm learning, and I'm pretty excited about what I'm learning. There was a concept that we talked about, and I want to get maybe a broader view of just how design thinking. We talked about double diamond. Maybe you could just talk to our audience a little bit about what that means and how you think and what that means for how you approach work.
And Alan, it's exactly what you just mentioned a while back. That's what is the double diamond. It's a more of a strategic framework. What we designers get a lot more time than support agents or people who are helping customers, right? We don't get enough time, but we definitely get more time than support agents who are in moment of crisis, right? So double diamond is we talk about a place where you explore and get a lot of problems, right? Like maybe the customer's talking 10 things. So that is the first part of the diamond where you locate all of the 10 problems and then you zero in one of them being the most important that you want to solve. And from there, you start with the number of solutions that you could have for the problem. And then you select the one which is best. So Alan, you already said it. So that's exactly is the double diamond. And it's in our design language. We also say build the right thing and build it right. Right? Build the right thing and build it right. So
Build the right thing and build it right, and those are very similar statements, but maybe just re-articulate what that means, because I think that's probably an important takeaway from our audience.
yes, it's important to identify what you're going to solve and solve it in the right way. When we talk about multiple solutions, right? It's
And that's a great customer service takeaway, because there will always be more than one. Well, not always. There's often more than one answer, and I think one of the things we talked about on the show before too is increasingly with technology. Uh, I think I said it earlier. it- Technology can handle problems that have happened before because we've already found, password reset, return merchandise authorization. These are very common and straightforward problems. But then what do you do if you have a problem that hasn't happened before, or it's complex, or you've got to approach it in a way where it may not be clear what the problem is? That's, I think, where these design principles come in. Um, why don't we? What we're going to do right now? We're going to put you to work, Rowan. Let's bring up a email, a customer email. So a customer writes in requesting a bill payment extension. Okay, they've recently moved to one of the platform's paid plans when COVID hit the business hard. So what we're seeing here is somebody had one situation and then their business changed, and now they want to see if they can get some relief based on the pandemic. Um, how do you approach? Let's see if we can break down this email. You're the customer service agent with a design principles in your head. Let's break it down.
definitely. I'd like to be little with all humility, right? Support agents are way better than me solving problems of this nature. But
Well, no, well,
I
I
would
want you
like
to, but you're the design thinking expert. Maybe I'll throw in some customer service expertise for you.
yeah. So what I would do is just circle the parts over here which sound like a problem, right? Um, is requesting a bill payment extension, right? So this is a request. So that's one point that I can underline. They recently moved to one of the platforms paid plan with COVID hit their business hard. So this is some kind of a context, right? It's not a problem. It is kind of a problem that when COVID hit them hard, right? Maybe COVID hit their business hard could be a, I would underline that. I would keep this platform paid plan as context. Then I would go, they have written to support asking they stay on the trial plan for a few more months so they can continue serving their customers and community. So this is not a problem, right? Really, this is like a solution, right? So I would put it on the other part of the diamond, which says stay on trial plan for a few more months, right? And then I would go reading more, like customer also wants to increase the number of agents. Okay, this is another problem, right? They want to increase the number of agents and enable features, both of which provided only in one of their paid plans, which is another problem, right? It seems these requests are raised because of tied over pandemic since their billing cycle starts in less than 2 days. Okay, this is a time element. 2 days. It's time sensitive, right? So this is how I will. So I will list all of these things down, and I know here are few problems that this person has, and I know which problem is more critical, right? So I will have to use my judgment as a support executive, whether it's a call, it's an email, or if I have some additional data about the customer to kind of understand out of all this problem, which one is actually the one needs that needs most attention and immediately, right? What I would do is use the time criticality over here, the billing cycle starting in 2 days, something that can wait for a while versus needs immediate attention, something that's super critical versus less critical. I see that having this person bill payment extension, so that they are in the system and they are a paying customer. So I would want them to be with us for a longer period of time, right? So I would say that this is the problem that needs to be solved. So I would put that in a single diamond. Now, solution A is what they're already talking about. And Alan, I'll need your help here. But one of the solution it looks like is to extend it. Maybe there could be other solution like can you part pay it? Can you pay it later? Can we switch you to another plan which is not free but kind of does the job? So there might be multiple solutions that.
No, look, what I like about this is very often it happens that a customer will come in and ask you for something which the assumption is that's the solution, at least from the customer's perspective. But that may not be the appropriate solution, but that's what they're asking for. And so what they're asking for may not be what they need. And so what you're doing is you're breaking down. So instead of looking at I need an extension as a problem, as part of the problem, it's one of the possible solutions, and you've already put that in your list of possible solutions. And now you're back to focusing on what's the problem. The problem is I can't pay my bill. I was hit hard, and I need to be able to continue to serve my customers. And so now I can brainstorm. One solution is to extend your billing cycle. Maybe there are some other ones, and maybe this is a little bit of a simplified problem, but I think it's very common that a customer will ask for something which may not be the solution. And by breaking it down into your two sections, one is framing the problem and the other is possible solutions. I think that gives a much more clear picture of how to approach it. How did I do?
Yes, yes, Alan. I mean, that's very well, articulated really well. And I think what's more important is you keep doing this to get better at it. So maybe you need paper in the beginning, you need all of this. But the more you use frameworks, and like I suggested in the beginning of this conversation, you don't have to use this framework at all. You can create your own framework. You can figure out your own way of solving it, but have a process, have a structure, do it, you get better at it, and your customers are happier. And there would be a day when you don't even know that you are doing it. Yeah, it's already there ingrained in your way of functioning.
Wow, this has been a great conversation, Rowan. Thank you for sharing this framework, the design thinking. I'm already thinking about a series of things that we can do, even from a Freshworks point of view, to help our customers understand and use this in how they not only do how they deliver customer service, but how they train their teams and how they they can maybe give more value from that perspective. Our next show will be, we do have a question. Sorry. How do you approach problems that are by customers in the first place and solve them without making them feel guilty for their mistakes? So a customer does something and they made it wasn't something wrong with our product. It was just they made a mistake. They did their own thing. How do you approach that without making them feel guilty?
Wow, that's a good question. In design, we call this error prevention. So I mean, we don't let in our interfaces, we try to avoid situations where a customer would make a mistake, and it's literally a principle, a design principle. It's one of the 10 heuristics, error prevention. What we make sure is, I mean, I'm going to take some time answering this. It's quite an amazing question. That's why. So when an error happens on the interface, like somebody hit the delete button without intending to hit, we give them a dialogue. We give them a way to recover from the problem, right? So you deleted something, it's lost. Like go to the recycle bin and say restore or something, right? But basically, our systems in product design and others, we should carry that entire narrative where we are able to, if something went wrong, like we nicely get them back in place. Not only that functionality is there, but delight is where they feel that oh, it was not such a big bad thing, right?
I love this because one of the things we talk about is having a dialogue or at least a feedback between customer service and product. And this is something that if it happens, you should flag it saying, hey, customer had a problem. It was their mistake, but really what can we do from a design point of view to make sure that that doesn't happen in the future for other customers, right?
Absolutely, Alan. Absolutely, Alan. And we at product design, we spend a lot of time studying, understanding customers. We spend a lot of time with our support teams trying to understand, where is our product really at, right? Like, and where are those in those customer journeys? What are those highs and lows? And where is it that we can get more delight as well as like you rightly said, right? Where can we learn from the customer so that the mistake doesn't happen in the first place?
So we got another question, and this one I think I'll put under the category of diminishing returns. Is giving up sometimes a good idea? What's the limit to creative problem solving? At some point, you have to. Do you just say I can't design this better, or I've hit a limit, or you know?
I don't think there is a limit, Alan. I mean, the limit is just
I was
human.
hoping that's the answer.
I mean, I have the opposite problem, right? I hear people who are like, I can't think anymore. I mean, I've never heard somebody, I think creativity is great, thinking is great, visualization is great, but you need, like I always say, right? Yeah, you might have a wild horse, but you need to put it in order, have a framework, have a structure. You'll get even better results with, a very creative. If you are a very creative person, if you put a framework to it, you'll achieve even more.
I love it. All right. Well, I feel like I've reactivated some of my creativity, Rohan. So thank you for sharing these principles. Thank you for walking through that scenario with us. Tune in next month when in April. We don't have a date yet, but we'll have another Masters of Moment. Thank you for joining us today. Looking forward to continuing the conversation on the next episode of Masters of Moment, brought to you by Freshworks.